Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating phenomenon, hiding right there inside the numbers. Let's be honest, it is incredibly frustrating when we blindly follow prediction algorithms, only to watch them fail spectacularly. I mean, millions of people do exactly what prediction apps tell them every single day, and they just lose. That's exactly why, for anyone analyzing predictive sports data, the ultimate secret isn't just taking the algorithm at face value. Instead, it's all about how sharp analytical creators interpret the hidden anomalies within that data to build mathematical safety nets. We're going to look closely at strategies developed by data analysts who completely bypass conventional thinking and human emotion to find highly stable, repeatable patterns.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for the explainer. First, we'll uncover the Forebet app itself. Then we'll explore the 60% rule and spot draw value in football. After that, we'll expose a really critical mobile versus web trap, dive into statistical anomalies in hockey, and finally, wrap it all up with the golden rules of risk management. We're going to be looking at specific, data-driven thresholds across two totally different sports.
Section 1. The Forebet app uncovered. Mathematics over emotion.
So we're talking about Forebet. It's an AI-powered sports prediction platform that's been operating since 2009, and it uses mathematical algorithms and deep historical data to generate match probabilities. What's genuinely amazing here is that it processes millions of data points. We're talking everything from head-to-head records to weather conditions, to strip away human bias entirely. So the really crucial point is this: the creators we're studying utilize this specific platform precisely because it removes all that noise. It provides raw, unfiltered mathematical probabilities rather than human opinions or gut feelings. It's basically the ultimate impartial baseline data source that actually makes all of our upcoming strategies mathematically possible.
Section 2. Football. The 60% rule. Downgrading risk for safety.
All right, according to our sources, analysts hunt for a very specific threshold in the daily data, and that number is exactly 60%. Specifically, they're scanning for matches where the app predicts a 60% or higher probability for over 2.5 goals, which basically means there's high confidence that at least 3 goals will be scored in that match. But instead of just blindly following that prediction and making the obvious choice, these creators do something completely counterintuitive.
Now, what's really interesting about this strategy is the brilliant downgrade happening here. When the app predicts a highly confident 83% or 65% probability for over 2.5 goals, you don't take the bait. Nope. Instead, you sacrifice that higher, riskier payout and intentionally downgrade your selection to the much safer over 1.5 goals market, meaning you only need 2 goals to happen. You're essentially using the algorithm's absolute confidence for 3 goals as a massive padded safety cushion to simply secure 2. And hey, if the algorithm gives a low 41% probability for those 3 goals, you completely ignore the match. The strategy dictates moving on immediately. It's all about mathematically insulating yourself from unpredictability and taking the safer, slightly less glamorous path.
Section 3. Football. Spotting draw value. The 37% threshold.
Most analysts run away from draws like they're cursed. They are incredibly volatile and notoriously difficult to predict, so the general advice out there is usually just to stay away. But our sources have found a highly specific mathematical trigger hiding in the data that completely flips this narrative on its head. That magic number is exactly 37%. When a match shows a draw probability of 37% or above on the platform, it literally activates this specific countercultural system.
Let's break down the actual mechanics of this draw strategy. First, you locate those matches with a 37% or higher draw probability. Next, the creator advises backing these specific selections using level stakes. Now, level stakes simply means you risk the exact same consistent amount of capital on every single selection to strictly manage your bankroll, regardless of how confident you feel about a particular game. The system aims to capture average odds right around 3.5. So why are odds of 3.5 so valuable? Well, because at that return, you essentially only need to win about 30% of the time just to break even. Any win rate above that is pure profit, making this strict, volume-based filter incredibly resilient against the total chaos of football. Because of that strict 37% filter, the sources note this typically yields roughly 3 to 6 selections daily.
Section 4. The mobile versus web trap. Hidden data in plain sight.
Okay, before we jump into our next sport, we absolutely have to address a massive technical caveat that's heavily emphasized by our sources. So put down the phone, or at least force it into desktop mode, because relying on the simplified mobile view is kind of like trying to defuse a bomb while wearing oven mitts. It just doesn't work. The mobile app literally hides the advanced statistics and crucial probability indices you need to succeed here. To perform surgical, multi-market setups, you absolutely must use a desktop web browser. Only the desktop version displays the complete granular data tables required. And as we're about to see, you're going to absolutely need those hidden underlying numbers for the upcoming setups.
Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds. Hockey, the statistical anomalies, escaping football's unpredictability.
Our sources point out that 99% of analysts stay totally stuck on football, constantly suffering from weekend unpredictability, where huge favorites suddenly lose to underdogs. To escape this, one creator pivots into the highly stable yet largely ignored world of ice hockey data. In this hockey data, there is a very specific mathematical anomaly that creators look for. The magic number is an index, or decimal odds, of exactly 1.25. Analysts locate a market titled, "How will the first goal be scored?" and they look at the decimal odds for the very first option. According to one source, applying this precise 1.25 anomaly filter validated an incredible 16 out of 22 configurations. That is a staggering success rate. Now, the strategy absolutely demands the index be exactly 1.25, period. The quote right here from the creator perfectly illustrates this strictness. If you see 1.20, you move away. If you see 1.30, you do not touch it. It's not about finding something close enough. It's about absolute cold-blooded statistical precision. If the decimal odds are even a fraction off from 1.25, the anomaly vanishes, and the strategy dictates you walk away immediately. So does the hockey analysis end there? Absolutely not. There is a second, equally important hockey filter analysts hunt for in that desktop data. 70%. Analysts scan the complete web data table looking strictly for matches where the favorite team has a 70% or higher probability of winning outright.
But here's where the psychological trap springs on the average person. Novices see a 70% probability and immediately select that team as the direct match winner. But the strategy dictates you ignore that direct market entirely. In hockey, a team can completely dominate the shots on goal and still lose at the last second to a really lucky bounce. Instead, you use that 70% confidence to pivot to highly probable, lower-risk safety nets. Option A is selecting favorite team over 1.5 goals, banking on their heavy offensive volume to score just twice, even if they end up losing the actual game. Option B is favorite team wins at least one period, meaning out of 3 periods, they just have to outscore the opponent in one of them. Why does this matter? Because it completely removes the heartache of a last-second collapse. You're leveraging their high probability of dominating without betting your entire bankroll on the final buzzer.
Section 6. The Golden Rules of Risk. Discipline over greed. We've explored the math and the anomalies, but the overarching philosophy shared by all the analyzed sources is perfectly captured by this mindset. Do not make lists of 10 matches. Take 3 or a maximum of 4 matches that respect this condition. You know, it's human nature to want to turn a small amount into an absolute fortune by linking 10 or 15 games together, but the math just doesn't care about our hopes. The ultimate secret to these data systems isn't just finding the 60%, the 37%, or the 1.25 anomaly. It is the strict, unwavering risk management of keeping your combinations incredibly small. This system is all about intelligent, long-term capital protection, and it rests entirely on discipline over greed.
Which leaves us with a really fascinating thought to close on. If the data to build these strategic safety nets is hiding in plain sight, freely available on these platforms right now, is it the algorithm failing when people lose, or is it simply human greed and emotion overriding the cold hard math? Think about that the next time you look at a wall of statistics. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep your analysis sharp, and I'll catch you next time.